I think when you get older and you're more mature, you also put yourself in just better positions. A little, whatever, call it a knack, call it savviness, call it knowing when to let off the gas, whether it be a practice and training or in games. And that can go a long way for health. And just being around him a little bit in training camp, the determination that you're sensing, the sense of urgency that you're detecting. I know I'm maybe setting myself up for a trap here, and you certainly would think so, but I'm at the point where I would be surprised if Keegan Johnson didn't have a big year.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Hello and welcome into another edition of 3Ma. I'm John Kurtz, joined by Derek Young and Cole Manbeck. Today, we break down the K-State offense as we get closer and closer, a week and a half away from the start of the 2024 football season. We're going to be talking Avery Johnson. We'll be talking Keegan Johnson. We'll be talking Dylan Edwards, DJ Giddens, the whole gang. So gather up your friends, get a nice pour of your Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon from our friends at Holiday Distillery or 360 Vodka. But either way, make sure you support them. They are great K-State fans who support us here on the show and have for a very long time. So we really appreciate them. If you are into bourbon at all, make sure you have tried Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon. You are running out of time to get it for the tailgate next weekend. This is another warning, so consider yourself warned. And thank you to our friends at Holiday Distillery. Okay, time to talk about the offense here. I think it's always going to be the sexier of the two for most people to talk about, especially when you have a quarterback like Avery Johnson. Though I know we've made the point that there are a lot of signs that would indicate, like, hey, the defense will likely start kind of in front of the offense this year. But I did think that this was interesting, listening to Matt Wells the other day, when he kind of, the question was asked, like, hey, we talked to the defense the other day, and they were talking about, like, how many turnovers they had forced, and Matt Wells is like, well, you caught him on the right day. So maybe we should start by kind of dispelling that a little bit, right? There was a narrative that had started to develop that was like, the defense is really dominating the offense in practice, and it seems like, they've each had their days and each had their moments.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit more back and forth than anything. Pretty competitive. As you suggested, I think what started as a chatterbox kind of thing from the defense because of all the turnovers that they were creating and forcing and being way ahead of the offense kind of morphed into something probably a little bit more than what it actually is. I don't think the offense is truly being dominated. I think it's been a pretty good back and forth battle. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. Again, it was one of those days where I think, because the way that the training camp media sessions were set up this year, each time we got the players was basically like immediately 5 or 10 minutes right after practice. So we're getting the players, those was 4 or 5 defense players, VJ Payne, Jacob Parrish, Cody Stufflebean, Jordan Riley, Jacob Parrish, Austin Romaine. We're getting them 5 minutes, what seems like maybe was after their best practice. So I think that kind of contributed into like a snowball effect of, should we be worried about this offense? And there's things we can point to evidence-wise, more so rooted in youth and experience for some concern heading into this year. But as far as training camp performance and just getting smacked around, I don't think that's the case.
Wait. Are you accusing the defense of fake news, DY?
Not fake news, just one-day news.
Okay. No, I mean, that's fair. Like, it's the post-practice high, you're all fired up. That's why there's a lot of times you get a cooling off period, after a game before there'll be like a mandatory, the NCAA tournament, like a mandatory 15, 20-minute cooling off period. Let everybody chill out a little bit. I don't know. Cole, which narrative are you going to push?
Man, I don't know. It's not really all that surprising when you factor in, like DY pointed out, the youth on the offense. You've got a new offensive coordinator in Connor Riley, a new co-offensive coordinator in Matt Wells, new quarterback coach as well, and they're probably implementing some new schemes and adjusting in the playbook, and you factor that in with also the youth on the offensive side of the football. And early on in fall camp, there's probably going to be some rust. There's going to be some rough days. They're working through things. And then you also factor in they're going against a defense that we probably think is the best in the Chris Kleiman era, with a ton of experience returning that think they can go 25 deep overall on the depth chart defensively, play 25-plus guys, and all the continuity on the defensive staff. They put this 3-3-5 in 2021 at the start of that season, and there hasn't been a change in the coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball that entire time. So their scheme is in there. Yes, they're making tweaks, but yeah, I think it makes sense that there's probably some growing pains going on with the offense, especially going up against that K-State defense. But it's only going to make the K-State offense better in the long run because they're going up against what I believe, and I think we all believe, is a really good K-State defense in practice.
Matt Wells, first year at Kansas State. Connor Riley, first year primary play caller. You know how many of the 11 starters, you know how many have started a full season at the Power 4 level?
Boy, a full season. DJ Giddens.
Hadley Panzer.
There it is, too.
Okay, I was going to say, I was going through the offensive line. I was like, there's got to be one or two offensive linemen, and that's it.
Yeah, because I don't think even Dante Cephas was through the whole year at Penn State last year.
Yeah, probably not, judging by at least what the statistics look like. So, yeah, point accentuated. And, before we get into where this offense can go and what it needs to be better at, I do think it is fair to elaborate just a little bit more on the coaching element of this. I mean, I think the offense was fine in the bowl game, did a pretty good job against a really good defense that was down its best player, but with a first-time starting quarterback, first-time Connor Riley calling the plays. Thinking back to the bowl game, I remember thinking great beginning, great end, got a bit stale in the middle, but that was also pre-Matt Wells, who's a guy that knows a lot about tempo and the passing game and some of the things that you would think would be kind of the opposite skill set of a guy who has the background of being an offensive line coach. So DY is someone who's been around the coaches and the team through camp and talked to everybody there. Like, how confident do you feel about the mix that they have at offensive coordinator?
I was going to say that. One thing you can take away from what we've viewed in practice and just talking to the coaches and to the players throughout camp is, and now camp's over with school in session, but is that there is a ton of confidence. There has never been a moment where it was like, boy, I don't know, like I heard something from a coach that didn't sound great. Never got that. And it was like, boy, I don't know, I heard something from a player. Like usually when there's problems, there's usually, and you've been there in these media sessions, there's usually, it's tucked in there and you got to find it and you got to pick it up and detect it. But there's usually one little quip there where it like sounds the alarms, right? And it's like, man, or it makes you get a little skeptical, and haven't had that moment. And one thing that I will say, because I need to be a little bit more fair, I've probably been a little bit more of the questioning, skeptical side, is with Connor Riley as a primary play caller. I keep saying, it's first-year play caller, you never know. Colin Klein was a first-year play caller and still had one of the two or three best offenses in the Big 12. So it's not as if Connor Riley can't do that, especially with the talent at his disposal.
Cole, any thoughts?
I think DY just made one of the best points he's ever made on Colin Klein there. So I think that's a very good point. And Connor Riley's been a part of coordinating like the run game component of the offenses over the last few years with Chris Kleiman and dating back to North Dakota State as well. So I think he knows how to implement a game plan, and it'll just be probably an adjustment period of figuring out how him and Wells work together, what they want to do, the communication to Avery Johnson through the helmet technology this year as well. That's going to be all new. So I think there's going to be, potentially maybe a little bit of a slow start early in the year for the offense. There'll be a little bit of growing pains sometimes in the game where you might get a little frustrated, but in the long run, I think they're going to be terrific, and they have to be terrific because I think I have school record numbers being set by this K-State offense.
I know we already kind of went to a schedule, but I can see like a bumpy game at Tulane and then kind of start to hit their stride.
Well, and I mean, you bring. I think it's all fair. It's great to bring that up about what Colin Klein did, and I certainly hope Connor Riley's the next guy. And promoting from within has worked out very well for Chris Kleiman before, and need to look no further on this team than Joe Klanderman and the job that he's done as defensive coordinator since he got elevated. But I will say, we're going to talk about explosiveness, But along with that comes the passing game, and that's where there are more question marks. We know that Connor Riley can figure out the run game and coach an offensive line, and he's got DJ Giddens and Joe Jackson and Dylan Edwards, like all these weapons to throw at the running game. But the passing game is really where the question marks come in. We saw certainly enough flashes of it from Avery Johnson last year, but not an entire season of doing it, throwing the football. The receiving core has always been kind of a question mark with this team for the last decade. And there are just going to be things that have to be proven on that side of the ball if they want to be as explosive as, say, like the 2022 team was, which was incredibly explosive, didn't have the success rate numbers, and I know Cole will have all this, of the team last year, which was very steady, moved the ball really consistently, just didn't have the explosive plays. I don't know. It kind of, and this, by the way, is our top story of the day, which is brought to you by Elenco for all your home improvement needs, local company based out of KC, owned and operated by K-Staters. We appreciate Elenco's support here. But they need to be more explosive offensively this year. And to me, on paper, Cole, it does feel and look a little bit more like the 2022 team, which had more of that vibe. Like, we've got real explosive capability as opposed to the more methodical offense that was pretty damn good last year still too. But if you could merge the two, that would obviously be the best option.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's can the offense replicate last year's success while at the same time being more explosive, because that was really the weakness for last year's offense. They were great in the 5 factors of college football outside of explosiveness. K-State ranked 105th nationally in explosiveness on offense, number 14 in the new Big 12, only ahead of Texas Tech and Utah last year. They were 93rd in rushing explosiveness. They were number 14 in the new Big 12, ahead of only Arizona and Colorado there. And in passing explosiveness, they were number 84 nationally and number 9 in the Big 12. 9 of K-State's 56 touchdowns last year against 12 FBS opponents came on plays of 20 yards or more. That's only 16%. John, to your point, in 2022, K-State had 20 touchdowns of 20-plus yards out of the 49 touchdowns they scored against FBS opponents. That's a 41% rate of touchdown plays of over 20 more yards. They had a touchdown of 20 or more yards in 12 of their 13 games against FBS competition that year, and 6 games where they had 2 or more touchdowns that came on plays of 20 or more yards. You look at 2022, K-State had 40 rushes of 40 yards or more. They tied for number 1 in the nation with 11. 7 rushes of 50 yards or more, tied for number 2 in the country. 5 rushes of 60 yards or more, tied for number 2 in the country. Well, you fast forward in 2023, K-State was great in the success rate category. You already mentioned it. They were number 16 overall in the country in overall offensive success rate, thanks to our guy, KSU_fan Jimmy, who provided that data. And they were number 3 in the new Big 12 at overall success rate. And you look at rushing plays of 10-plus yards, they had 91 of those. That ranked 7th in the country and was behind West Virginia at 96 and UCF at 98 as the best in the Big 12. But then when you dial it down and go down the list, they have 3 rushes of 40 yards or more, ranking 79th in the country, and 2 rushes of 50 yards or more, which ranked 56th in the country. John, K-State's offense overall last year had 3 plays total, passing and rushing combined, of 50 yards or more. 3 plays. That ranked in a tie for 115th in the country. In 2022, K-State had 11 offensive plays of 50 yards or more. That ranked in a tie for 9th most in the country. So can they be more explosive? They have the tools this year to be more explosive, but can they also at the same time be as efficient? Can they minimize the turnovers like they've done so well the last 3 years, et cetera? That's going to be the key question.
I think they can minimize the turnovers. Replicating that efficiency with a bunch of first-year guys is probably a tall order. I think the rushing explosiveness will certainly come. It would be hard not to be explosive running the ball with the 3-headed monster of Avery Johnson, DJ Giddens, and Dylan Edwards, in my opinion. Passing explosiveness probably can come. A little bit of got to see it to believe it, but that probably can come.
Agreed. I mean, you look at the running game, like Avery Johnson and Dylan Edwards, it doesn't get more explosive than that. Like, you're going to be able to create explosive plays. And DJ Giddens is no slouch either, but you've got real home run hitters there. Remains to be seen whether or not a Keegan Johnson or a Jace Brown will be able to consistently be a home run hitter in the passing game. look, Alinco, they're all about hitting home runs. So if you need anything home improvement-wise, make sure you talk to our friends at Alinco, locally owned since 1986, and that's in an industry where most have been bought out by national companies, so they are local. They are K-State fans. They can hook you up with new windows, a bathroom remodel. They have premium window replacements, Kohler Luckstone shower systems. They can do new siding on your home. And you don't have to just be in Kansas City or Manhattan. They'll come to Western Missouri, Northeast Kansas, the entire KC Metro. So go to alencohome.com. That's ALENCO home.com, ALENCO home.com to check out their services, including free estimates. And you can call Sam at 913-961-2165. Again, Sam at 913-961-2165. So help us support some great K-State fans who support our show. How are we feeling about the passing game? How are we feeling about the passing game and the receivers? We can get to the offensive line component of this, which is another question mark for the offense, and certainly they'll factor in. But do you feel like, DY, the passing game has the... We know they have the potential. How close will they come to realizing the potential of the explosiveness there?
Yeah, a little torn because I'm a big believer this year will be the year for Keegan Johnson. I've been pretty consistent in that insistence, I guess.
Okay, well, hit me with the evidence. Lay it out for me. All right.
Just what we talked about. I like the talent is there, the upside is there. As long as he's healthy, it's going to come together. I think when you get older, you do typically learn how to take care of your body more. I think that can help. I think when you get older and you're more mature, you also put yourself in just better positions. A little, whatever, call it a knack, call it savviness, call it knowing when to let off the gas, whether it be a practice and training or in games. And that can go a long way for health. And just being around him a little bit in training camp, the determination that you're sensing, the sense of urgency that you're detecting. I know I'm maybe setting myself up for a trap here, and you certainly would think so, but I'm at the point where I would be surprised if Keegan Johnson didn't have a big year.
Yeah, you're talking my language, DY. You're gonna hit that over hard now.
But I will say, like, the passing game, there is still questions about it because Avery Johnson has one start under his belt, so you want to know how it looks early, but I think you can rely on Keegan Johnson in a run game and a defense early too, so where there's not a whole lot of pressure on him in the passing game. And and you want to get the offensive line a little bit more, their feet wet a little bit more as a unit, as a cohesive unit together. So maybe looks a little rocky early, but I think at least by midseason, I think I'm going to feel okay about this passing game.
Are you saying? Would you say Keegan Johnson, wide receiver 1, coming out of camp?
Yeah. Well, and I think everybody would. I don't think that's even a debate at this point.
Okay.
I got a question for you guys. Our guy Jeff tweeted this a couple weeks ago. I saw it on Twitter. I think the question was, would you take Phillip Brooks' productivity over the last 3 years for Keegan Johnson and consider Phillip Brooks averaged around 525, 530 yards receiving each of the last 3 years? Would you take that from Keegan?
That would have to be the bare minimum, I think.
Yeah, I would say, am I taking like the entire, like, yards per catch? Like, what was the yards per catch?
Phillip Brooks is on the lower end of your starters each of the last few years. Last year was a little over 11. I would want Keegan to be more explosive.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I would anticipate that Phillip Brooks is going to be lower on that, but I wanted to make sure. And my answer to that would be, if it's 550 yards where he's providing a legitimate explosive threat that's going to force defenses to have to, like, legitimately worry about that, then yes. If it's production coming in the same way where it's a lot of the shorter stuff, and we really didn't see Keegan Johnson create a bunch of big plays. The one time I remember him taking a shot was, what game was that where it was Texas, right? Where he batted a ball up to a defender that got intercepted when they were trying to hit him down the field. I need him to create some big plays. That would be my answer.
Phil Brooks at 589 yards last year in 12 games. It's only 49 yards game. Like I said, that would be the bare minimum, but I probably need more than that.
But I guess my point on that would be if that's like one big play a game, 130-yard reception a game, then you're planting that seed, and the defense has to worry about that and at least game plan around that somewhat.
Yes, but then you're talking about only 1 or 2 catches a game too. So
yeah. Well, I mean, let's look back. 2023, K-State's yards per pass, number 73 in America, 7 yards per pass attempt. 2022, they averaged 7.7, which was 46 in the country. In 2021, they averaged 8.3 yards a pass attempt, number 24 in the country. Last year, 60th in the country in pass efficiency offense. That was a drop down pretty substantially. 2022, they were 40th in the country. In 2021, they were number 29 in the country. So the passing game left some things to be desired last year. It gets back to explosiveness too, guys. One passing play of 50 or more yards last year. And that play, John, do you remember the play? I asked DY on our patreon.com/3mall yesterday.
You had the wrong game, though.
I did have the wrong game. I had the wrong game. DY, don't blow it here.
You had the wrong game because I said it to Mason, and then he kind of corrected me on the record.
Oh, boy. I was trying to think in the Texas game when they really got the passing game going, but I don't think they had anything that big.
That was more like Texas, too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because the passing game just came alive when Colin, we love Colin, but imperfections as a play caller at times was one of those games that was frustrating. They wouldn't get away from the run. I'm just stammering to try and kill time here.
It was in a win. It was against TCU. Do you remember the play?
Oh, TCU. No, and see, TCU is one of the games I was at a music festival that day, so I rewatched the game, but that was one of the games where I paid the least amount of attention to. So
that was the alternating series game too, right?
Yeah.
Well, John, the ball traveled about 1 yard past the line of scrimmage, and it went for 61 yards. It was DJ Giddens just housing a busted coverage by TCU down the sideline. And so I bring that up because there was just no downfield passing attack really last year. Will Howard averaged 6.8 yards per play. That's rushing and passing the ball combined. When he was in on a play, he either ran the ball or threw it. 6.8 yards per play, ranked 46 among FBS quarterbacks in college football last year, and number 8 among Big 12 quarterbacks in the 2023 Big 12. Just to circulate, because I know we got to get a break here in a minute, but just to hammer home on the point on the passing game this year, I do think they can be really good, and I think what will really help them is they're going to be hard to defend against the run. If the offensive line can be average, above average, a little bit better than average, this team will be very difficult and put a lot of stress on defenders to stop the run. And so you're going to be in a lot of situations. You can't just sit back and play 2-man, play deep, 3-man deep zone. You have to be able to come up to stop the run against these guys with Avery, Giddens, Dylan Edwards. And the stress that puts on the defense, I think will get some guys open in some single-man spots, single-man coverage to be able to hit some explosives and to be better in the passing game. I think they're more talented at wide receiver this year. I think Garrett Oakley's really good at tight end. And then you add in Dylan Edwards' pass-catching ability and explosiveness. I just think they have more weapons and tools to be more creative, to do some things that can lead to a better passing attack this year.
It's crazy. I was just looking through the Texas, the play-by-play chart of the Texas game, and it was even in that second half when they were really getting going, it was 15, 20, 22, and then the longest reception was the 32-yard touchdown to Jace Brown. That was 32 yards. So, yes, didn't have the big plays. Always a big play, though, if you go to homefieldapparel.com, and DY just did for those who are listening on the podcast, you missed a Lee Corso-esque reveal here from DY where he had to take off the hoodie to make sure that he can proudly display his home field apparel today. So I'm going to take a guess here just by the color. I mean, it looks like very Virginia Tech-y. It looks like a Virginia Tech kind of color. Cole, do you have a guess?
I thought maybe Central Michigan, the Chippewas. Looks like
you're both wrong. It is Sister Jean's birthday.
Okay, that's not funny.
She's 105 years old today.
That's not cool with me, DY. No, you know what? That's that's the worst thing you've done on this show now. So
I don't know that it's worse than Texas A&M, but
oh yeah, you're right. Very well played. Well played.
We're gonna get DY's got Loyola. He's got Texas A&M. That just means we need FAU. We need Baylor.
Well, I got a few.
Butler. You have a Butler, one of those somewhere you can pull out for us.
A few new ones in the wing.
DY, if you bring out an FAU shirt, I will quit 3 Mall on the spot. I will resign. Maybe that's what you want, Do not bring out an FAU shirt, okay? And have you worn that sister? Have you worn that Sister Jean shirt in front of Mason? I'm sure he's thrilled.
Can we get a shirt with Cole's face from the FAU game on TV? Could Foam Field make us a custom shirt of Cole's face from after the game?
Oh, very funny. Yeah. You guys want to relive that sadness? No.
I don't know. I took it all in stride, I was in New York. I was right down by the court. What an experience. It was just a great, great life experience. We went to the Museum of Modern Art that day. I mean, it was awesome.
Okay, you're bringing back the worst things in my life right now. We got it. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. Well, Nick says display it. I don't. Nick, can you find that? It's on my Twitter somewhere. Find the picture of Cole and we'll show it for the people. That would be great. All right. Anyway, homefieldapparel.com. They can get you maybe not a Cole shirt, but they can get you everything else that we talked about there. If you want any of those teams, or if you want their 50 plus K-State designs, it's all there at homefieldapparel.com. It's the best gear around. You'll see it everywhere at Bill Snyder Family Stadium in about 10 days. You'll see it all over the place. Sister Jean still being held up to the mic by Derek, much to Cole's chagrin. But homefieldapparel.com, you can get 15% off your first order using promo code 3MA24. Thanks to our friends at Home Field Apparel, and we're back in just a moment.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
I just ran to try and find my Sister Jean's socks, and I couldn't find them in the 30 seconds that I had in that video. That would have been really good.
Why do you have Sister Jean socks? Why do you guys have so much Sister Jean stuff?
You know that story. When I was at I was in Atlanta when K-State played Loyola. I made a friend who went to Loyola, and they sent me some socks after the fact. It's kind of like a gag gift, So I still got some Sister Jean socks there. Are we okay? Are you okay, Cole? Can we move on?
I'm cool. I'm just dreading if Nick pulls that picture or something. I'm sure he's frantically searching, to bring back horrifying flashbacks. It's just going to pop up randomly during shows moving forward now.
So that's my job as the host here, is to set you guys up with a good meaty topic that you can really chew on for a while, and I'll go try to find it. So I'm on it. Anyway, offensively, you do have to replace Cooper Beebe on the offensive line, KT Leviston, another NFL offensive lineman. And while I would make the case that I worry about the passing game more than I do the offensive line, simply because Connor Riley, I think, has a really high floor with his offensive lines. Typically, that's what he has been. Understanding that he has more responsibility on his plate this year, I still fully trust in his ability to do that. And you have not only a really high-profile transfer in Easton Kilty coming in to help shore things up, you have plenty of guys who have played a lot of football at K-State and been able to get into games. And I think the future is really bright on the offensive line, too. I think they have some good young talent coming up. So it's generally what K-State does in the Chris Kleiman era for sure, is be able to plug and play and replace and at least be adequate to solid on the offensive line.
Yeah, no real concerns here. For a team replacing 4 multi-year starters, they do have a lot of experience and plenty of starts, even if it's not a ton under their belt. But even on those real experienced teams, with like a Cooper Beebe, a KT Leviston, Hayden Gillum, Christian Duffy, some of those were even slow starters. So that's the only part I kind of collide with here is, generally and overall, I think this group's going to be fine. Is there going to be some growing pains? Probably. And there were some, for some reason, one reason or another, there were growing pains with some of their more experienced units.
Yeah, look, they're replacing a lot. Hadley Panzer is a guy that DY outlined has a lot of experience coming back. Taylor Portier's played a substantial amount of snaps, but only started a handful of games and battled injuries throughout his career. Carver Willis came on last year. But you're replacing arguably the best offensive lineman in school history, and Cooper Beebe, and then KT Leviston at left tackle. So how does that left side of the offensive line look? Is Langang a guy that can step in and play well for him in his first year of significant snaps potentially? How does Kilty transition to playing at the power conference at the FBS level against the talent he's going to be going up against? It does help that, he is from the FCS, but he did play in the Missouri Valley, which is the powerhouse of the FCS, where North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and all those schools are from. So I think that helps. When you think about last year's sack rate, or that offensive line, the sack rate was actually 16th in the country allowed by K-State at 3.9% against FBS opponents. So they were really good at protecting the quarterback, and also that's a credit to the quarterback eluding some of the sacks. And this isn't an offensive line credit stat only, but in havoc rate allowed, K-State was number 1 in the new Big 12 last year and number 11 in the country. And in rushing success rate, they were number 10 nationally and number 2 in the new Big 12 behind Arizona. Yards per carry, nearly 5 yards per carry last year, ranked 29th in the country. It was the 6th best mark in school history as far as yards per carry. In 2022, they had the 3rd best mark in school history at 5 yards per carry. And in 2021, the number 8 best season in school history in yards per carry. So Connor Riley and this offensive line and the rushing attack at K-State have produced some of the best rushing seasons in terms of efficiency, yards per carry averages in school history. DJ Giddens had 51 plays of 10 or more yards receiving and rushing combined last year, guys. That was the 11th most in all of college football. Ollie Gordon was 4th. RJ Harvey was 5th. Tetaroa McMillan, number 8. Devin Neal was number 44 in the country with 42. Giddens had 40 carries with 10 yards or more. That ranked number 12 nationally in the country. So getting back to the offensive line, I do think they're going to be okay, but it'll probably take a little bit of time for them to gel. I think right now they probably feel like they've got a pretty solid group of 7 guys, and hopefully they can maybe find an 8th.
Is that fair? Fair characterization, Derek?
Yeah. I have no quibbles.
7 to 8. Yeah. And I mean, DJ Giddens is just such a wonderful asset there. I want to make sure that we do, Ed Cole spoke to it just a moment ago, but give DJ Giddens his complete due here, because he's somebody that gets overshadowed for a lot of reasons. One, he plays on a team with Avery Johnson, right, who just drew another Heisman. Somebody picked him to win the Heisman again yesterday, Ralph Russo from the Associated Press. So you've had multiple outlets picking him to win the Heisman. He's got all this hype, people calling him a generational talent. I saw that phrase thrown out the other day. I was like, that's pretty good. I might have to use that. But when you play on a team like that with a guy like that, you're going to be overshadowed a bit. Then Dylan Edwards came in. He's got that home run hitting ability. He's bright new shiny toy from the portal. So you have a couple, and that's even within the same backfield. Then you layer on the fact that DJ Giddens plays in a conference with like 10, maybe more like 7 first-team All-Big 12 caliber running backs, and so he's getting overshadowed because of all the Ollie Gordons and Devin Neals of the world. And he's just a really quiet guy who doesn't care at all about any of that anyway. But he's a phenomenal back. He's a phenomenal back.
He probably doesn't get enough respect, but I think he might be okay with that. His personality is pretty low key and subtle anyway, to where that kind of stuff doesn't bother him. And I wonder how much production, like what is the difference in his production going to be? Because now he has a more mobile, explosive playmaking quarterback. He now has a more mobile, explosive playmaking running back alongside him. And nothing against Trayshawn Ward, who was solid last year, but obviously not the home run ability of Dylan Edwards. And it'll be interesting. But, something to remind ourselves too is Dylan Edwards has some of his own challenges to overcome, some of his own hurdles to overcome. Being at Kansas State will innately help alleviate some of those, but his numbers in September compared to his numbers after September last year were pretty stark. So his hurdle, his challenge is to not just be a September guy, but be a September, October, and November guy.
Anything to add on DJ Giddens?
I don't, John. I mean, I think he's fantastic.
He's a stud. And
Cole, we're trying to hype him up and saying he doesn't get enough credit, and you don't have 2 words to say about DJ.
You just gave us a bunch of words. What I will say is, I would have put him on a second team All Big 12 if they had that in the preseason, but they only have a first team. And I think the deserving ones were Ollie Gordon and Devin Neal. Obviously, Devin Neal didn't get it either. And for the second team, I would have made it R.J. Harvey and DJ Giddens.
It just gave you guys a bunch of numbers on Giddens of the plays at 10 yards or more, how he stacked up last year. He's one of the fastest players to 1,000 yards in school history. He's going to finish this year. I predicted it on the over-under pod. He's going to finish, I think, number 3 in career rushing yards after this season on the all-time K-State rushing chart. So DJ Giddens is a tremendous player, and I think one of the unheralded parts of his game is his receiving ability as well. I think he's a tremendous pass catcher. I think he's a good pass protector as well, and pass pro and blocking for the quarterback as well. He does it all, and he doesn't say a thing. And so I love DJ Giddens, and I think he's one of the most underrated players in all of college football, not only the Big 12. And, hopefully more of the country this year tunes into K-State football and finds out more about him, because I do think there will be more eyeballs on Kansas State this year because people are reading all about Avery Johnson and the media publicity. The AP, guys, I sent you the article last night. Ralph Russo, I believe it was, with the Associated Press, picked Avery Johnson to win the Heisman. It was another one that came through with a Heisman pick. Now, is that probably over the top at this point? Yes. Avery Johnson has to prove himself. But there's going to be a lot of people that want to watch K-State because Avery Johnson is the type of quarterback that's dynamic and has the tools that people will tune in to watch if K-State is playing well. And as a result, people will watch DJ Giddens and they'll see him play more and they'll be like, man, that's a really good running back. And I think DJ Giddens could be a pro. I think I wouldn't be surprised if, he's in the pros next year early as an early entrant.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if he's going to come back or not. I would lean towards not. But if he did come back next year, he can actually catch Deuce Vaughn in rushing yards too.
Yeah. Well, when people don't pay enough attention or give enough respect to DJ Giddens, this is, I think Nick is going to be able to show us exactly how it makes Cole feel when DJ Giddens or anybody on the K-State roster doesn't get enough respect. I mean, look at that. Don't make Cole feel like that. National media, everybody watching, just please give DJ Giddens appropriate respect. Cole, how do you feel about reliving that moment, seeing that picture?
Just gonna go sit in my van for a while, I guess, and stare up at the sky
down by the river. That added to it. I want to sit in my van.
Yeah, I mean the van may go somewhere as well, so it's not going to just sit idle. Yeah, no, that just thanks for bringing that score up too of that game. Not one of the darkest sports moments that I've experienced. So
the funny part too was that I was searching through my tweets from that day to go I did the advanced search to pull that up, and it was I ran through the series of 5 tweets about the glass that fell from the ceiling and almost killed you before the game too. So
I will say it doesn't get enough, and it's not a traumatic facial expression as Cole's, but John's soul has left his body at that point.
He looks like he's smiling, he's got a smirk.
John looks like
stoic.
Every emotion and soul has left his body, and he can no longer feel anything.
I'm just stoic. I would say I'm stoic.
Well,
Cole, I also knew I did have a feeling in the back of my mind. I was like, I can't do anything too crazy here because the camera guy had been loving us the whole game because we were just going batshit the whole time. And we were in the student section because again, got hit by glass from the ceiling and had to get moved there.
Cool.
So we were
emotional awareness.
Yeah, we were with the students, and the camera guy kept coming to us during breaks, and I knew people had texted that they had seen us on TV. So I was like, yeah, you gotta keep a tight, keep a tough face in that moment.
Yeah. I wanted to shut my phone off that night. So K-State football, don't make me feel that way this year. Don't make me be on camera at the end of the Big 12 championship with a look like that on my face captured on ABC or ESPN, whatever it is. Don't do that to me, guys.
Just bunching up his shirt, ready to wipe his tears too.
Yeah, same with Mike Gundy. Please don't do that to Cole on what is that, September 28th?
Yeah. When Mike Gundy's, yeah. Well, when Mike Gundy's playing in the what is it? Is there still an Insight.com bowl or So
No, there is not.
I don't think.
I don't even know if there's an inside.com.
No, I know that. I was just trying to take a shit. Yeah, Cheez-It Bowl. Maybe that's still around. Maybe he'll make it to the Cheez-It Bowl. I don't know.
That's a tough thing about bowls these days. It's hard to even get off the jokes that you want to because you can't, they change and you can't remember what the hell is actually out there.
Inside.com is the joke, though. I think we should just say it.
Yeah, but I still think I would still tell you I think the most ridiculous one that ever existed was the GalleryFurniture.com bowl. I would submit GalleryFurniture.com bowl. It didn't get as mainstream as the Insight.com bowl. But
I'm less worried about the Oklahoma State game. You know what happens when Oklahoma State comes to Manhattan? It's a little bit better.
Yeah. Hey, I have a theory on, because both Cole and I now brought up Ralph Russo picking Avery Johnson to win the Heisman, and the New York Post did it as well. My theory on that is I think he is probably receiving more hype on that because of the sports betting world that we live in, not just because people are paying more attention to more aspects of the sport because they have a vested monetary interest, but because everybody's looking for somebody who's not one of the top 5 to 10 guys, right? They want somebody with big odds, and they've heard about, hey, this guy's got insane amount of talent and a team that's going to be pretty good this year. Who's somebody that's going to have a lot of value for me that I can still get a pretty decent number at, pretty good ROI if he does jump up and win it. I think that has influenced some of this, to be honest.
I think so. And they're just looking at the history in the last 10 years. It's either old transfer quarterback on a really good team, or it's top 10 high school quarterback that's going to be in his first year starting on a really good team. And when you truncate it down to those two things, you do start to lose your options. And it comes down to 6 or 7 guys. So based on the criteria that has won the Heisman Trophy in the last 5 or 7 to 10 years, Avery Johnson does fit them pretty nicely, at least one of them.
Yeah. Any Cole, I know you have to jump. Any final thoughts here on the offense?
Let me just give you guys a rapid fire. And rapid fire, I mean 2 minutes and under of numbers. So I talked about the 5 factors that are kind of the key drivers of successful football team, which is efficiency, turnovers, explosiveness that we already talked about, field position, and there's one other, and I'll outline them real quick. But if you look at last year, so we talk about, can they replicate last year's success, right? Remember, this team averaged 3.03 points per drive last year. That ranked 11th in the country. It was number 1 in the new Big 12. It was the best points per drive by a K-State offense since they averaged 3.21 in 2012. Turnovers, we already talked about it. K-State's offense had 0.9 turnovers per game against 12 FBS opponents in 23. They ranked 12th in the country and best in the new Big 12. Over the last 3 seasons, K-State's averaged less than 1 turnover per game. That's ranked top 15 nationally every season since 2021 and tops in the Big 12 in those 3 seasons. Can they match that? Can they take care of the football? Can Avery Johnson limit those mistakes? Can they avoid it? They've been really good at it for the most part, other than Will Howard had a lot of picks last year and some dropped interceptions that were advantageous to K-State. But outside of that, K-State's taken care of the football well. And also, K-State's defense has been among the best in college football turning teams over the last 2 years. As a result, K-State's turnover margin, plus 11 last year, tied for number 5 nationally. In 2022, plus 12, tied for number 8 nationally. Finishing drives. Can K-State finish drives again this year? Can they be efficient in the red zone? K-State averaged 5.08 points per opportunity in 2023. That was number 2 in the country. The next closest Big 12 team was number 25 in the country, Arizona, at 4.51 points per opportunity. According to a 2023 article from Action Network, based off data from the 2018 to 2022 seasons, the average for a defense is 3.6 points per opportunity, and the average for an offense is 3.7 points per opportunity. So take in mind, K-State averaged 5.08, number 2 in the country last year. And then lastly, guys, I mentioned red zone rate and touchdown rate in the red zone. K-State scored touchdowns on 51 of their 65 red zone attempts last year. The 65 attempts, by the way, were tied for 7 most in the country. Now that gets back to not having explosiveness because you have more trips in the red zone. You're having to get shorter yardage touchdowns. But the 78.5% touchdown rate in the red zone ranked number 2 in the country behind only Oregon State at 78.6% in 2023. In 2022, K-State ranked in a tie for number 87 in the country in touchdown rate in the red zone, 32 touchdowns on 56 red zone attempts, 57.1%, number 9 out of the 10 Big 12 teams then. In 2021, they were number 33. in the country. But I mentioned that because the 78.5% red zone touchdown rate by the K-State offense was the best by a Wildcat offense since at least 2009, and it goes back, I'm sure, farther than that. The next highest red zone touchdown rate by a K-State offense since the 2011 season was 69.4% in both 2016 and 2014. So those are just some numbers and some thoughts here that I give to give you perspective on what they did well last year. And can they come close to replicating that while also being more explosive? Then this is going to be a heck of a lot of fun.
All right. DY, do you have anything real quick? Otherwise, I think we can pack up the offensive preview. Any final words of wisdom?
More explosive, less efficient.
I would agree with that. That seems pretty obvious based on what they have. It's just a matter of how much more explosive, how much less efficient. That will probably tell the tale of the season. I did forget. If you have anything, you want to get in touch with us, you disagree with any of this, you want to talk about how Cole looked in that picture, you can hit us up on the KCSN hotline, which is powered by Mint Mobile, 913-407-6524. We know we got a question about the defense from our guy Parker. That'll be addressed on the defensive preview here. But if you guys have any reaction to the show, want to get in touch with us, make sure and use that KCSN hotline powered by Mint Mobile. It's going to do it for all of us. Thanks to all of our great partners, Holiday Distillery, Alenco, Home Field Apparel, and thank you to Nick Springer behind the scenes as always. For Derek and Cole, I'm John. Thanks for listening to another edition of Three Mall.